You're going to have to take some bets. You're going to have to place some bets. You're going to have to take some risks if you want to get big.
I'm already ready to see something way bigger than what we're seeing now, and I know it's going to be coming, and I think accounting professionals will be instrumental in that growth.
Then we can leverage a tool like Digits to give our clients real-time insights.
They're used to hiding behind this. Instead of put that down and now be present with the customer, with the client.
You have to have some vision for how you want to use it.
Because I'm just like, I want the tools to do everything so I don't do anything except talk to people. I would love to talk to the clients. Like, they need the interpretation of the data.
AI Native Accounting is brought to you by Digits, the world's first autonomous general ledger. Ditch the tedium and empower your AI native firm with Digits. Automate bookkeeping, reporting, client collaboration, and more, so you can focus on what truly matters. Visit digits.com to start your free trial today and see why the future of accounting starts with Digits.
Welcome to the debut episode of AI Native Accounting Podcast. My name is Kacee Johnson. I am a principal at Be Radical, a leading fintech innovation, and your host for this new series. I am thrilled to be here at Scaling New Heights to kick off this new podcast, which is brought to you by Digits. And first, before we jump right into the content, I want to welcome and introduce our first guest. So Matt Gardner is the founder and CEO of Hiline. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Kacee. Happy to be here.
And a woman who, especially at scaling, I think needs no introduction, but a dear friend of mine, Dawn Brolin of Powerful Accounting.
Yeah, super excited to be here. Honored, of course. Kacee's one of my besties.
So thank you both.
And I'm glad you're here too.
I would like to first kind of ask you both before we hop into what AI native means. We're day 3 of the conference. Any aha moments for either of you?
You want to go first?
No, I would like you to go first because you're so kind.
Aha moments for me. I think for the first time this year, I'm noticing people leaning in a lot harder to the reality of AI and what it's going to mean for industry, more so than I have picked up on that in prior years. So it feels like it's really starting to catch on right now. That's been the biggest thing for me.
And I'm definitely seeing firms that are starting to get really serious about optimizing AI, optimizing their tech stack, workflow, all of that at a different level than I've seen in the past. And I think that that's really makes me happy. When we are all starting to move to the cloud, if you will, maybe like 10 years ago or however long it's been, it was like a slow adoption. And I'm finding people getting really excited about AI. I have to agree with that.
Excellent. And that's a perfect pivot of why we're all here today. So I've known Jeff Seibert, the founder and CEO of Digits, for a few years now, and we had been brainstorming about how we could work together. And some of you may be familiar with Jeff's podcast, Between Two Founders. He wanted to build similar conversations specifically for firms around AI in accounting and finance, which is a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. And so that's how the podcast was born. But AI native, we're hearing it. You guys heard about that yesterday in the keynote. We're calling the podcast that. What exactly does that mean? CPA.com, which is my former employer, we at Be Radical collaborated with them recently on a special report. It was just released at Engage 2025 AI Trends Report. We actually defined AI native in there as these are firms who are automation first operations, right? And this is something that is coming down the pipeline. We look at this as it's a signal from the edge. This is just starting to form and storm. And what we see is a future business model and strategy for practices. But it's really that they're not looking at AI as a bolt-on, a tack-on to something, but rather a foundational model for their firm. So I'll just ask you both. Dawn, when you hear AI native, what do you think of?
I think of excitement, honestly. I think of how the tools that I'm already using, and again, it's not a plugin, it's natively inside of the tools that we're using to help us be more efficient, more productive, and stay away from those, I'll say transactional, whatever you want to call it, those pieces of the firm that I don't ever want to type again, I kind of feel like. So how can these tools help me in my firm have the automation happen? Why are we sending email reminders like we're manually doing that? Those types of things need to be within inside the tool, and they're there. And so we're able to maximize those tools for that automation to let us do the bigger and better things, which is the analysis, the conversations, the advisory conversations that we're having with clients. And so that's how we're leaning in really hard. We think about every time we make a keystroke or we click a button, we think about why are we having to keystroke? And so that's something we've actually been really working on over the last couple of years is why are you hand keying anything when the tools should be working for you? And so we're a very small firm, but we have really big ideas about how we can make things automatic so that I can just show up in my office and put my feet up with a coffee and let the computer tell me what's going on. And I don't even have to touch anything, right? So I see that that's the type of thing I envision and where we're going.
Excellent. And Matt, I was recently on your website and I saw the Hiline OS operating system. So I'm curious how you're approaching AI native when you're so tech focused as your foundation anyway.
Yeah, so there's two buckets in terms of how we think about it. There's, I think what Dawn's talking about is like the in-app AI. And I think operational accounting in general is becoming more and more automatable, almost completely automatable at some point in the not too distant future. So it's making sure that our team, like they kind of set down everything they know about accounting and bookkeeping, because accounting by definition is the recording of history. And if you use AI and technology the right way, like the data should get in the system when it happens, and you shouldn't have to worry about recording history. Let the tools do it for you. So it's trying to make sure that we were using the best apps, the best technology to get operational accounting done. There's a second layer, which is a lot harder to conceive and build towards, which is how do we take all of this data from all these different systems and use that to inform our enterprise data strategy internally to run our business better, which is expensive, takes a lot of foreign investment to do it. And it's also hard to figure out like how much data, what's the right data, and how we actually go about building that. And that requires us to make an investment in a team that can actually execute that too.
And this is all an evolution, right?
Yeah.
I don't want firms to get overwhelmed by any of it or feel that they're behind, because in reality, the technology is maturing, and this is as firms will continue to evolve as long as they're leaning in and being proactive.
You just have to pay attention.
Exactly.
It's a lot. I mean, we have like 80 apps in our tech stack right now. Every month, every quarter, we're constantly getting new feature releases. Most of it is AI that's been embedded into those tools. So it's very difficult to keep up. But I think the best thing you can do is just pay attention, experiment, try, lean in, and eventually you got to inform like what your strategy is going to be.
Exactly. And I think in that report, we showed that 15% of firms say that they're AI ready. So don't feel behind. This is a process, and it's actually a great opportunity for leadership and strategy within the firm. But now, AI is a big part of the talent and capacity conversation, because we do have a shortage in the profession and a lot more work and demand than we have supply for. One of the big benefits of AI is being touted that it can alleviate some of that. So first, Matt, I'm curious, we and you were recently at the AICPA's AI Symposium in New York, and there was a top 100 firm CEO who shared that they are no longer hiring junior associates, that will all be handled by AI, and they're only hiring senior. So I'm curious how you're taking into account in a smaller firm AI with your talent strategy.
Yeah, we're kind of thinking like the middle of our company hierarchy org chart is going to start to get much fatter and wider, and it will be very thin at the bottom. So we'll call them senior associates, should be able to leverage all the technology to get a lot of the work done for a higher volume of clients. There's a lot of responsibility they have to take on to make sure they understand how to use the tools. There are certainly, there's a use case for centralizing some of the technology and how we use it, how we deploy it, how we roll it out, introduce it to the team. So we have started making more investments in a technology function too. But I think it's incumbent upon everybody in the organization to lean in to learn how they can play a role in it too. So we'll probably stop hiring less experienced talent. Assume we can replace a lot with technology and AI. Where we do hire young is because we see potential, and we will be growing them into future leaders in the company as well.
And Dawn, I know you well in that you mentor so many young professionals. I'm curious, because I know that's a passion for you. When you see that AI is is going to automate a lot of that first level work. How do you approach and mentor some of the younger talent and staff that aren't maybe learning those critical learning skills of going through the process and need to be at the more senior review?
Yeah, I think that they come in with already understanding technology, that they grew up with technology. We're the ones who are learning, right? So they're already just coming in ready for that. But I think for me, it's really focusing with them on conversations and for them to learn that human part of the business, which I think is going to be tough for them. So that's something that we talk about, regularly. Like, hey, listen, we've got to be able to go through this, but let me show you how the AI is going to alleviate the things maybe you learned in school, because they're still learning that. And how can we help them come into the profession with more knowledge and more expectations of AI? You're not going to come in and reconcile bank accounts. Like, that's not what we're doing anymore. So how can we help them learn to analyze the data that they're being given through AI, interpret that, and be able to communicate that to a client? And so it's just a different level of different type of skill that they're not really learning in school. They're used to hiding behind this instead of put that down and now be present with the customer, with the client. So they're going to have to interpret that. But I find what you were saying about, I'm good, don't worry about me. It's all good. So I loved what he said about how hiring the young to bring them up to do other things, but the fact that we used to be, let's fire middle management. And it's the opposite now. It's like, no, let's groom that middle part, as opposed to, okay, where are we going to cut costs? Usually it's in the middle. Now we're saying, no, let's invest in that middle to have them be able to do the things and deliver the information on the AI. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah, the talent development strategy is really interesting. Historically, you've been taught to do a lot of the rank and file work. Like, that's how you learned how to eventually advise. I think we're going to have to figure out how to teach young people how to use technology really well, leverage AI, understand data, and also teach them how to be advisors at a very young age, which is not that dissimilar from what strategy consulting does. So I think it's just a different, it's a different way of thinking. I think there's a little bit of work to do to make sure that the way students are being taught in school aligns with the actual use case for them in their career as they move forward. But I think that's where it's going. I think it can be done. It's just hard to do.
And I'm curious, because you made a good point, Dawn, about the young folks that are coming in. They are growing up with all of this. They know it. They're comfortable with it. Are either of you doing any mentor up programs where the younger generation mentors up to some of the more senior staff so that they feel more comfortable in these new tools?
Yeah, I mean, so as part of our partnership with Digits, we ask for hand raisers all the time. Anytime we're taking on a new initiative, we ask the entire company who wants to volunteer. All of our young folks raised their hand and said, we want to come work on the Digits project with everybody. So that's how we try to keep them engaged.
That's great. Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about practical application, because one of the things that I hear time and again from firms is this just theory? I don't want to be a guinea pig. Does this really work? First, let's start with workflow. And this could be in any kind of area of your practice. What have you been able to automate in the workflow processes in your firm?
Yeah, so we've been really heavy on making sure we get those processes done, primarily because with the automations that we've implemented, we're not having to have, not that we don't have conversations, because we still do within the firm, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. I don't want to jump on a call with, let's just say, Nicole on my team and say, hey, did you finish reconciling this bank account? Let's use it as a silly example. I don't want to have to ask her where she is in the process. I want to just be able to look at it. But when she finishes what she does, the tools should all automatically say, hey, Dawn, the work's done, you're good, go ahead and start a tax return, for example. When I'm done with my part, when I just click a button, it should alert Tracy to say, hey, return's done, 8879's out, you watch for it to come in. Once it's accepted, we can file. The system's doing all of that. We're not manually handling a piece of that. And so, the more automation, especially in the tax world where I'm not hand keying a W-2, those things are already happening. That stuff's already, you should already be doing that. You shouldn't be hand keying W-2s, which was to your point earlier, was how are you making it so the AI and the way the tools are working can facilitate the work side of it, right? Because I'm just I want the tools to do everything so I don't do anything except talk to people. I would love to talk to the clients. They need the interpretation of the data, but that's where I want to be, right? So our workflow is set up in a way as things are happening automatically. I love having things set up when we have questions for clients. Remember the days when you would send an email with an attachment of Excel. Hey, can you fill in this column that I put in yellow, and then email it back when you have a minute, and you never got that data back? Well, the automation of the workflow tools are reminding them and sending it to them automatically. They have a simple way to give a response, and they do it so much more timely than the random emails. Then when we pepper email them, but we don't. The tool does it. They're like, hey, yesterday we sent you this. And the next day, hey, we sent it for you 2 days. And then it gets more angry as we go. We let the bots do that, right? So we've just found the workflow for us, there doesn't need to be a lot of conversation. So we are so efficient that we can actually not work with our hair on fire. And I think AI is doing that for us. It's happening already.
Sounds like a
in a
much
big
better
way.
work day.
It's a lot. Yeah, they only can be 2 hours. You shouldn't be working more than 2 hours a day. That's in my opinion.
Matt, how about Hiline?
Yeah, our focus has been primarily on operating the operational accounting work. The technology stack we use, our focus is on, again, getting the data in the system when it happens. Part of that is we have to use technology well and build systems to make sure that happens. And part of it is making sure our clients are trained. And we call it user training, and it happens during onboarding to make sure they do their part. If everybody does their part, then the team's working off exception. They're chasing down the things that the technology and the automations failed on. And we've been able to get that 80% right most of the time. The more complex the accounting gets, the harder it gets to automate a lot of it. But our focus has been on that type of automation. We're actually feeding the exceptions back into the team's workflow. So we use Carbon to do this. So we're constantly scrubbing and looking for places where there's exceptions, and we're feeding it back to the team to go clear them. The idea is that if we do that real time, then we can leverage a tool like Digits to give our clients real-time insights. And we very much subscribe to like 90% directionally accurate every day is better than 100% accurate 20 days after the month closes. So most of what we've built kind of anchor in that fundamental principle.
And what do you feel still requires human in the loop?
So I'm going to call it like playing like the conductor of the orchestra of all the technology systems that we use is a big part of it. I mean, our team spends, say, probably half of their time doing that, constantly, working in the technology, not doing the bookkeeping. Most of the balance sheet reconciliations, that's like the majority of the time where accountants are spending their time is at month-end close. We've built automation solutions to do most of that stuff. Where you get into like complex transactions, that's where it's hard to automate, and it requires like somebody with expertise to go in and kind of figure out what to do and how to book it. That's just the majority of the time our humans are spending right now.
So I loved what he said about this. Something we really focus on is when an initial client comes in, is really investing some time in that client to help them understand the tools you're using, right? Because, and I really struggle with the folks that say, well, my clients won't do that. And I'm like, well, then you got the wrong clients. So let's start with that, right? So ideal client profile is a technical foul. So if we think about that and we invest that time in the client, we're going to have so much more success. And again, you have to have that person, or maybe people at a larger firm, maybe it's more than one, that have that, successful onboarding. And so in our firm, it's Tracy, and she makes sure that they can use the tools that we're using. They understand why we're using them, and we invest that time. It makes the relationship from that point forward so much better because they understand what's happening. I think some of the challenges of some of the firms is going to be capacity. And that's where I think they might want to start focusing on the fact that if you have 5,000 clients and you're maybe implementing a new tool, how are you going to help those 5,000 clients implement the new tool? Mm-hmm. So are we working with too many clients? Maybe we need to shrink that client base down so we can be specific and very intentional on the way we're approaching the process of how this is all going to happen. And they need to understand that. And it's a more successful relationship.
Yeah, we actually have our clients sign impeccable agreements with us now during onboarding. It's like, this is what you agree to do. Here's what we agree to do. And we both agree not to violate.
Level set on expectations for both sides.
Yep.
I love that.
Absolutely.
So now that you both brought up clients, I'm curious, what are you guys hearing from clients in respects to AI being in their financial systems? Do they want it? Are they cautious, or do they even care? I mean, what is What are you hearing from clients?
I'm definitely not hearing anything for the most part, meaning that they're not concerned. Like, I feel like they really do, as we call ourselves trusted advisors on the daily, they really do trust that we are implementing tools and strategies within our firm to help them at their success for their businesses. And also, we've also taken that approach of, listen, you want us to get our work done and get it done well, correctly, timely, real time, not this historical stuff we've been living in, so that I can advise you better, whether it's tax, whether it's business growth, whether it's hiring, whatever that may be. They're expecting us to make those selections for them. And I find that at least for our client base, that they just rely on us. And as far as the expectations, like, we've set those expectations, those boundaries, but they're definitely trusting us. And the same thing with security. We won't get into that right now, but security, same thing. They're trusting us with their information. They're trusting that we're taking care of it just as much as AI. Brolin, if you're using a tool that has this AI, we trust that you're selecting the right stuff. So it's a big responsibility, in my opinion.
Well, it's a reflection on you with your relationship with them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with what Dawn said. They trust us to do it. I would say, do clients care or intervene? There's a small section of the market that will. So, we serve SMB, so it's generally like 50 employees or less is their sweet spot. We have a pocket of venture-backed SaaS founders. They understand the technology. They have lots of questions about the technology. They're not representative of the majority of the small businesses out there. For the nonprofits, the Main Street SMBs that we work with, like, they kind of look at us like Robin Hood, like bringing all of these incredible enterprise solutions to them that they have no idea how to go find, procure, manage, set up, maintain. And what they care about is the experience for them. So when we give them access to Digits reporting, and they can go in and they can ingest their financial information in a way that they get, that's approachable, where they can kind of self-serve and get a little bit smarter with the insights it provides, they love it. So I think they mainly care about how does it impact my experience working with you guys?
So, we're at this conference and there's a large expo hall with a ton of fantastic solutions. I'm just curious, are there any on your guys' radar that you're evaluating or currently implementing that excite you?
They're not here, but it's because it's not accounting technology. So we're using right now, we actually just deployed Gong into our org to record all of our customer Zoom calls, it's like scrubbing all of our customer emails with our service delivery team. We've used it for sales and marketing for a long time to help forecast our pipeline, but this is helping us capture sentiment from our customers. We're using a tool on top of that to help visualize customer sentiment every day. So, like, we can kind of get a charted graph of, like, how are our customers feeling right now about how we're working together. That's been pretty incredible. I think that's a little bit non-traditional. It's not historically, I think, thought of like a services tool like that, but we're really we're focused on customer experience. We think experience is going to be how you differentiate in the future, especially with all the technology that's kind of flooding the market right now. So that's been the one that our team's really excited about. I mean, trepidation too, because now it kind of feels a little bit like Big Brother, but it's helping us get smarter.
Yeah, I've been looking at PathQuest BI, if you've heard of that, and they are really focusing on bringing in financial information and spitting out AI-generated summaries and different things like that. So, because I'm looking for talking points, I'm looking for the tools to say, hey, the books are closed, okay? Books are closed. We're noticing this about the balance sheet. We're noticing this about cash flow. Here are some of the things you might want to talk to your client about. But I also have a question. What's going on with their inventory? So it's in the beginning phases of giving and teeing up those questions that I want it to give me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to necessarily spend the time in doing the analysis myself. I want the tool to do it, tee it up for me so that I can get on the phone and have a call with a client on whatever it may be, ROI, different, profit percentages, things like that. And as things are moving, and I want it to give me the talking points, and I want it to ask me questions that I should be asking the client. Not that I'm not thinking it through. And of course, there's always the proof of it. You've got to read through it. You got to make sure the information's accurate. I'm not doing calculations. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. But that's what the tool will do for me. And then it will tee up that AI generated information. That's what I'm reviewing. The AI generated summaries and the things like that. So I'm really excited about that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to that as we move, because we're really automating things in a great way. But from my level of what I do with the clients, I want that solution for me. Because I feel like with Nicole, we've already solved all her problems, I feel. As far as getting the accounting done, making sure things are tied out and all. So,
Yeah.
but that's been a tool I'm very, very interested in. I've met with them a couple times, so.
You've been tuned in to AI Native Accounting, powered by Digits, the world's first autonomous general ledger. Unlock automation for bookkeeping, reporting, client collaboration, and more. Let Digits handle the tedium so you can focus on high-impact client services. See why AI Native Accounting starts with Digits. Try it for free today at digits.com.
In our recent research, I don't think it actually made it into the report, but we found that one of the big blockers for firms was that they feel like a lot of it is hype and that vendors can overpromise and underdeliver at times. If you were to look back a year compared to today, where do you feel in terms of a practical application or AI hype? Where are you on the fence of how the solutions are actually performing?
Well, it's not hype. I think it's as much about the technology as the application. So like nothing is plug and play in any organization. You have to have some vision for how you want to use it. And I think we're, as an industry, in the middle of trying to like form that vision for how it works in our business model.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as we move forward, I think our expectations have changed, and I agree with you. It's not hype. This is already here. It's been here. Everyone just hasn't really been buzzing about it as much as we have been, I feel, recently. And I say recently within the last year. But I feel like, I think accountants are now expecting it. And I think that they're going to expect it at a higher level than maybe people expect. That, some of the simple stuff is coming forward. We're seeing some of that, but I'm already ready to see something way bigger than what we're seeing now. And I know it's going to be coming. And I think accounting professionals will be instrumental in that growth. I think us communicating with the applications and saying, hey, listen, I want to see this, I want to see that, and being real vocal about it will help them develop, I don't know if faster, because roadmap is I don't like the word roadmap when it comes to technology, because I'm like, what do you mean it's on your Q4 roadmap? Put the pedal to the metal, man. Get yourself at 95 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the speed limit thing? So, just thinking through that, I have high expectations.
Well, and you've always been a really good partner with you don't just see them as a vendor, like you're a partner to them. And I find that more and more of the solution providers today are actually looking for firms to be design partners. Mm-hmm. I know, Matt, you are a design partner with Digits, right? You'd probably consider yourself that. I still run AICPA's Startup Accelerator, and we let them pick goals while we put them through sprints to help them accomplish those while they're in the program. And every single one this year had a goal of just get us a design partner. And I love that because it shows they're truly listening. They want you to help build it. So you do have a very unique voice with the solution providers. So capitalize on that.
Well, and my whole thing is that if you, like with me, when I see an app or I see a solution, I'm like, I really love this. I want to use it. I want to warn them that I'm going to give feedback, right? Because that's good. I'm like it's not just, oh, hey, thanks for the signing up and I hope the tool works for you. It's like, no, okay. We're communicating daily with all of the providers that we work with in my, starting lineup tech stack. And I'm like, we need to fix this. And they're like, okay, it's on that Q4 roadmap. No. Next Monday, I would expect this to be released. Because I'm so passionate about it and I want their tool to work the way, of course, I want it to work and for all of us to work. It's not just about me, right? So I find that communication, and those that are most open to it, I think will be the most successful. So I think that's hard for app developers in some ways because they're engineers by trait in some way of sorts, right? Whether it's digital or building a building, doesn't matter. But engineers just have a totally different concept in some ways of the way we think. And so for them, if they're like, well, I see it going this way, I'm like, yeah, well, that's the wrong road. You took the wrong right. It was the second right. You know what I mean? I think that the more they're open to that collaboration, which I think is more than ever before, they want to hear from you and they want the feedback. And that's exciting that we do it together.
You just want them to ship it, though. You're ready.
Let's go. Listen. I'll pay extra. We'll pay extra, but not that much.
I agree with what Dawn said. We have a lot to learn from each other. And I think this is a new skill that the accounting profession is learning, is how to work with technology companies and technology partners the right way. When somebody sets out to solve a problem with technology, they've done a lot of market mapping, they've done a lot of market research. We share the same customers as the technology partners in a lot of ways. So think the technology companies have a good sense for what our customers want to see. We have a good sense for like what we want it to do to serve our customers. And I think it's a risk sharing model. If there's things that we want to see get done, I think we have to also remember that, the technology companies have a product they're trying to build. They're trying to find product market fit. And if we ask for all these things, we have to be ready to move forward and adopt them quickly too, because if we do that, then we can actually accelerate progress. Sometimes I have friends in the industry that I think sometimes it gets 80% of the way there, but we get kind of hung up on the edge cases a little bit, which can be a blocker. I think you kind of got to lean in and you got to start working and building together. Try it, iterate, give feedback, and keep going. But just try not to wait until it's perfect to adopt it, because the technology company may not be there at that point.
Yeah. And so many wait for it to be perfect. And then you're so late in the game and adopting.
No such thing as perfect.
I know.
No.
Well,
Once it gets perfect, it's time to rebuild, because
it's
there's
the
a roadmap.
enemy-
There's more stuff on the roadmap
Yeah.
after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that road.
It's the enemy of progress, right? I think Churchill said that. Okay. Dawn, I'm just curious, because you do evaluate a lot of solutions. What's the number one thing you look at? You could think this is a badass solution, but like, what are you looking at for that tech provider to where you want them as a partner?
So I look at it again, like I just had said, like, are they open to feedback? Are they open to the goals that we may have as a practitioner, which may be a different viewpoint from what they have? If they're open to that, if they're open to growth, and I see constant growth is important to me. So we use Financial Sense, you use Carbon, we use Financial Sense, and if we give feedback, it's, oh, you know what? That's something we can fix real quick. It's with them. It's a relationship where they're not saying, well, that's going to be later. They're like, you know what? We want some little wins. Where can we win on the little scale, as opposed to always this big launch and release? Where can we fix some smaller bugs? That's important to me. For those partners that I'll evaluate their software, I'll look at, I'm like, this looks really great. I would love to see this here or see that there. And they're like, yeah, well, we're just demoing here. And I'm like, well, I'm actually evaluating for the future, not just for today. Yeah. And I think that's really important when you're looking at tools. What is their growth strategy? What are they looking at as far as 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road? Are they an app that's going to be really good at, I'll use RC Reports as a great example. Reasonable compensation. What are they going to do next? Are they going to now become a payroll company? Because I'm not interested in that. Like, sometimes app providers will start with one thing and then they turn into 8,000 other things, and they're not great at the one thing they sold me on. So I look at that.
They try to boil the ocean.
Yes, they do.
Matt, I'm curious, because you're PE backed. Has that changed the way that you evaluate, implement tech, or buy tech?
No, but it's allowed me to accelerate it. So one of the reasons that we partnered with them, there's a couple of reasons. One, they only back founders, which I loved, which means they understand what comes with a founder CEO. There's a big development journey that needs to happen, so that's cool. The other is they believe in differentiation through technology enablement, recurring revenue models, and customer experience. So they've allowed us to make a lot of forward investments to help us build in that direction. So I'd say we shared the same fundamental principles around strategy. They've just helped to provide the capital to allow us to go faster.
Nice. All right. So it's been a good relationship.
It's been a good partnership.
I love it. Okay.
Do you want to share that relationship with me?
I'd be happy to share it with you.
I just want it recorded. That's all. Now we have it in writing and recorded.
So I would like to shift and talk a little bit about looking at the future. Put your futurist caps on and get your crystal balls out. So you're both deeply embedded in your firm's strategy, and we talked a little bit about signals from the edge. How do you separate looking forward and being aware of the edge and leaning in there, but from the noise, and still staying grounded while you look at your next big tech bets?
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're running a business that you support your lifestyle, it's a nice business, you don't necessarily want to see it get exponentially bigger. That's one thing. So I think for us, can you reframe the question for me, Kacee?
Separate all of the noise.
Yeah.
We hear about AI all day, every day, right?
Yep.
It's just, as a consumer or as a firm leader, whatever it is, how do you separate noise from
tactical firm strategy?
So I think, again, it depends on the swing you want to take, right? It's like you're going to have to take some bets. You're going to have to place some bets. You're going to have to take some risks if you want to get big. We've made bad bets. We've made bets on technology partners that didn't pan out. We've made bets on people that didn't pan out. I think taking calculated risk is going to be important. The amount of risk you take depends on the aspirations of your business. So we want to get really, really big over time. So we're going to have to take a couple of big bets and a lot of little bets. But if you have a business that supports your lifestyle, that you love and you're passionate about, like you can take some smaller bets with some technology solutions to just make your business that much more optimized, that much more profitable, and give you that much more of a quality life. So I think you just got to know what you want to do.
So I know accountants are very averse to risk, but maybe getting a little comfortable with some of that uncertainty. I like it.
I'm pretty much, he just described me because that's really the path I'm on. I'm not in a growth mode. I'm in a automate my business so I can continue doing the things I love about my business and stop doing the things that I don't love about my business. And I'm not looking to expand or grow. And so my bets will be small.
Yep.
In that every like inch I can take to get closer to being removed from basically the daily anything, and be more selective and more intentional about the things that I am doing with my clients, that the time that I am spending with them is real high quality time, not asking small questions, but asking big questions and doing big growth planning for them if they want to grow, having those conversations with them as well. I like my lifestyle right now. I'm in a spot right now, but I want it to get better. I need to golf more than twice a week. During the week, by the way, the bad golfers are not on the course because they're working. So that's a good thing. So you get through the round faster. But I'm just not in that growth mode from an employee perspective or even really a client perspective. I want to grow the clients I have. We're at 200 and that's plenty. And we've been at a lot higher level of clients. We're making more money than we ever have. I want to make even more money, but I want them to make even more money because I'm giving them that quality of attention that they deserve and that they're paying for. And that's my goal. So if I'm finding, and I will be finding technology that removes me entirely from that daily operation. I do love IRS resolution. I'm looking forward to that side of the AI equation that I'm hoping comes to facilitate a little bit more of how we work with the IRS so we can resolve things faster and not so manual. We're still very manual. So how can AI help us solve that area of a practice? Because I love that type of work, but it's very cumbersome. And I want that cumbersome to go down and get the success story for the client of a penalty abatement or an offer and compromise that is successful to save them money and how that all works. And those are the things I'm looking, that's where I'm going to put I feel like that's where I'm going to go, where get me out of that daily, help me automate that resolution to get a faster success for the client and be able to still enjoy golf and my boat and my family and my friends and everything like
Priorities
that.
are important, Dawn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Only took me 26 years, Kacee. It was a small journey.
can I add one more thing too, Kacee?
Please.
I think right now, like we're definitely at an inflection point, technology inflection point, and it doesn't happen often in industries. So whether you notice it or not, like the ground is definitely shifting between our feet. Like technology is forcing it. I think you just have to kind of try to anticipate what's going to happen. I think there's a period of time where the efficiency gains from all the AI solutions is going to provide like a really interesting margin capture opportunity for firms. There's going to come a period where I think pricing will start to get forced down a little bit. So like we operate under like only the paranoid survive. Like that's kind of what I always try to tell my team. Like what if eventually bookkeeping became a free service? Like what would we do? So we have to think about how do we replace the value of those services to keep the contract sizes the same for our clients, which means we have to be able to provide more and do more. And I think we have an opportunity with technology to start to focus on that stuff more too.
I love that. And we do a lot of disruption mapping sessions. And Matt said this to me last night at dinner. And I said, I am doing one of those and I'm putting right in the middle, what if bookkeeping was free? And we'll just see, then you start to see second, third level implications. And this will be a fun exercise.
Yeah.
I'll call
I'm
you
not
for it.
saying bookkeeping will be free. I just think it's a good thought exercise to go through. Like, what if it was?
Yeah.
What would we do?
Right.
What if?
What if?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Now, a lot of times it's easier to build from scratch than try to change old models.
And we run this like creating the killer competitor exercise. And I'm curious for you guys, if you thought to the future about a true AI native firm, and you took away all the constraints, the old mindsets, everything that we're currently dealing with in the firms, right? To try to get us to this level and upskill. Where would you start and what would it look like?
Well, I definitely think we've created habits. We've created habits within the firm. This is how we always have done it. We've created habits with clients, and where either we don't do a great job of onboarding them and they're kind of lost in the sauce. And in a higher volume firm, that's going to be more difficult to back up and be like, okay, we're looking to move in this direction. Now we've got to let the clients know and do that. From scratch, who get to do that, I'm jealous, to be honest. like those people are going to have the opportunities of a lifetime to embrace this change. Well, to them, it's not a change. To them, it's just natural because it just started. For those of us who have been around for a while, and there's some people in this room been around for a long time, that I think that's going to be a bigger challenge to them to embrace that. And so, hopefully, again, that people are embracing it sooner than later so that they're going to have to backstep a little bit. But yet there's going to be, I think evaluating your client base is going to be a really big deal, because you look at your client base and say, we've got 10% of people in our client base that are just not adopting anything that we're doing, that those people will be carved out at some point, and the sooner the better in some way. Not like, sorry, good luck, but there's plenty of solutions for those folks that they can be a little more hands-on. So I think the existing firms are going to be the biggest struggle, but boy, those people that are coming in now and those people who embrace technology already, and it's not going to be a change for them. That's just how they're going to start. And that's exciting for those folks. So.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that some of the winners in the future are going to come from the back, because it's a lot easier to build when you're small or build from scratch right now. If you are a firm with thousands of people, that's a lot of change management. So I think you got to start somewhere, but ostrich isn't a good strategy. I don't think there's you can't bury your head in the sand right now. Like it's coming. I think org design is important moving forward. I think, being real about the capabilities of the people on your team. I mean, you can't expect, all accountants to be good salespeople, good marketers, good at customer service, good with technology development and deployment, good at being people managers, good at like building culture. Like those are all very unique skills. Like those are jobs in a lot of different companies. So I think you got to be more willing to bring folks in that can help accelerate your business in different ways and help the accountants learn how to work cross-functionally. And I think that's going to help you build a better, stronger business.
I could keep going with this, but I do want to be cognizant of time. And we brought in a live audience because we do want to hear from you guys. Are there any live audience questions that we could tackle? The questions around change management for the audience.
We hired a chief people officer, and she was one of our first 20 hires. And this was before the AI hype was like real, like it was talked about. She's been with us for almost 5 years. She has been critical of building infrastructure, introducing frameworks, like teaching our managers how to embrace change. We made the mistake once upon a time of thinking we could just teach everybody how to do it. Well, our managers are the ones that kind of make the machine go. So we spent a tremendous amount of time on their training and development to make sure that they're bought in, they understand how the stuff works, and they understand how to run their teams and manage them through the change. So for us, we've been able to go faster by focusing on the people who are leading the people within. We have two of them now, a two-person people operations team, and we're only a team of 55. So I think we've probably made a pretty early investment in it.
Right. Yes, sir.
Following up on that, what sort of change management communication are you providing with clients? Especially as you adopt more AI tools, certainly in these sections of clients that are a lot more wary. Even though they trust us, they still hear and see things on social media and other sources that makes them cognizant of, hey, maybe this is a threat more than a help.
You want to take that first, Dawn?
Well, why not? It's hard because I know scenarios that are happening where we've got a large client base. We've been 100% paper. There are still firms out there that are still paper. When you have that large firm scenario and you're trying to get there's going to be clients who are just not going to change. They're not doing it. They don't want any part of it. And that's okay. And really that's the invitation to be successful somewhere else, to that particular client, right? I think that firms are going to have to be a little bit more big and bold about it. I think they're going to have to, set the expectations. And yes, you're going to get pushback. You're going to have those emails of people, I can't believe you want me to upload my document somewhere and not text them to you. Like, we're going to have that, right? So really just investing the time. And I think from a bigger scale, because I think your question's more on a bigger scale, for us is just, we may need to make some phone calls as we make these changes. And that's for us, it's manageable for us. But in a larger firm, I think there's going to definitely have to be some kind of a structure that you put together, like almost like a success person who's like, that's all they do is, hey, client, want to let you know this, document the results, somehow I'll say tag them in a certain category. This is a green lighter. This is a yellow maybe. And this is a person who's like, no. So if you have that, I don't think it's going to come from, I don't think the managers are necessarily going to do that, but I love what you're doing with assigning someone to really take the bull by the horns on that. And that's all they do, especially somebody who's got 5,000, 8,000 clients.
Yeah, we centralize the comms. So we have a CX function. They report up through our growth team. So generally, a lot of those communications are coming from marketing. So a lot of it is about positioning too. Like, our clients don't need to know everything. They don't necessarily care how the sausage gets made. They care about the things that impact them. So we're just very careful about not overloading them with all the different tools that we may be bringing into our stack. But the ones that we feel like are going to help enhance their experience, we'll focus on those. And sometimes we have clients that resist. We've gotten pretty good at qualifying clients. Like, when we sell to them, if they think they know what to use better than us, and we'll generally just DQ them, because eventually that's going to happen. You're going to make a change, and they're going to resist you, and it's going to become a nightmare. So we try to make sure that the persona fits right.
That's really important for new clients as well.
Yep.
It's not just your existing client base, but that ideal client profile that we all talk about. What does that mean for you? Well, if they're not willing to utilize a tool you're using, then they're not going to be a good fit, right? So I think we're going to have to get better at that. It's not that we'll take everybody on anymore, like it used to be. Is really the qualifying questions that someone needs to ask. That's going to be more important than ever before, because if your firm wants to move forward, it's got to be consistency. There can't be breaks in your workflow. I use a great example. If I'm in a restaurant, a friend of mine comes over, Brolin, I want you to do my tax return. And I go, okay, here's my cell phone number. Text me, we'll do it. That's an epic fail. Because the process should be, here's the number to the office, call Tracy, she'll onboard you. Because what she's doing is she's doing the qualification of, and she will be sure that she knows what we expect. She understands that. So when she's having that initial call with the client, we don't take them on, so we don't have to go backwards, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be critical.
Yeah, it's accountability. And it goes to Kane's question too about internally, how do we manage it? We've had to get a lot better at holding our clients accountable and holding our team accountable. So like, when we are changing things, if we face resistance, we don't tolerate that as long as we used to. Performance management helps with that too, making sure you're very clear and consistent helps. But yeah, it's accountability across the board.
Yeah, so we're seeing big investment with the GL. When you look at some of the GL providers out there, API automation tools, closed management tools. So they're all integrating AI into their layers in order to provide better service for us. How are you coordinating that, or how are you determining, when you work with Digits or others, how everything comes together to provide the outcomes that you're looking for? Because there's a lot going on and a lot of releases, and it gets overwhelming, I think, for a lot of firms. And any recommendations on how to handle that?
So for us, it starts with our core product. So I'll talk about our operational accounting product. Like, that is, there's a SKU of things that we do that's agnostic from the technology solutions that we use to do them. So the workflows don't change, but the technology solutions do. So we won't bring in a piece of technology that doesn't align perfectly with a SKU. And if we do, it's because we're probably spinning up a new offering. So we're very cautious about not disrupting the thing that we're selling, and making sure that we're finding technology solutions that make it better. But yeah, it is very hard. I mean, I get inbox notes like 100 times a day and LinkedIn's the worst, like from new technology founders who are building that want, they want an hour of my time for $25 to, gather 10 years worth of insights from building a business. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Randy?
So it sounds like you both have your automations pretty highly wired. So you've got a lot of that mundane stuff handled. So if you are able to use more of your time for higher value services, are there particular advisory services or particular focuses that you think have the most leverage for clients?
So when we've ingested like everything we hear from our clients, like what do they need help with? They describe it in different ways. They say, I need a budget or a forecast, or I need help with cash flow. My margins are broken. I need help understanding like where am I making money on certain clients. Like generally speaking, I think what everybody's saying, like they need help generating more cash flow. Like they want to improve the cash flow for their business. So again, our clients are SMBs. Light SMB advisory is, in my opinion, easy to teach very young professionals how to do. So the more we can automate the operational work, the more we can use data to surface insights to us. I think the more we can provide some type of light like advisory to pretty much all of our clients, and every single one of them, if we could take their contract today and we could layer in some type of advisory work that focuses on helping you produce more cash flow, they would all raise their hand and say, yes, I'd prefer to make the same investment, but get more out of it today. So that's where we're thinking it's going to go. It's conceptual right now, but it seems doable if a lot of the work we do today gets easier to provide.
Yeah, we've been really working on those systems, Randy. So we're focused on getting all that, and that automation has already happened, right? And I feel like not just serving up ROIs and not just serving up cash flow, which those are important. We should be doing those. Also thinking about the things outside of that financial strategy that we sometimes forget, or we are so busy. Like, how am I supposed to think about a partnership? Do they have a buy-sell agreement? Like, it's been 24 years for me where I just never had the time to think outside of their balance sheet and their P&L. And now we're able to have conversations of a simple example of, hey, listen, are you looking to add, like, let's say an HVAC company, are you looking to add another van with 2 more employees in the next 2 to 3 years? And you'd be shocked if you go in assuming they want to do that. Now we're saying, is this something you want to do? Is this your strategy? And they're like, no. What we're going to do is we're going to expand, we're going to capitalize on the services we're doing these things. Those conversations are different than I've ever had them before, but because I automated and I can step back from all of that day-to-day stuff, I can actually use my brain to think about things that are important outside of maybe just financial, but structure. Now, I'm not creating a buy-sell agreement, but I'm saying, hey, guys, you need a buy-sell agreement. Let's get you to this attorney. Different things that are in the background that aren't always financial that we aren't doing. How can we help them improve that? What are your goals? You know, you're 35 years old. You want to pay off your house. Okay, how do we do that? Here's where the cash flow comes in. But we're asking more questions that are non-financial that will help us use the financials to back the goals that they're doing. And I just had never done that before because I was too busy hand keying, analyzing, always looking back. And now in the present and be able to do that, we can be what we were meant to be, is to be that advisor and helping them move forward. And that's been, just crazy awesome for us and for our clients, because they're getting that value you're asking for. That's what they're looking to pay for, is not just, we got to worry about a balance sheet.
So if you've gotten beyond the cash flow issues and you're getting to these really high value, have you seen any consistent ask from the businesses that says, this is where I've got my next pain point? In other words, what's after cash flow?
Well, for us, that's what we're seeing. They're asking different questions, because they're like, hey, we talk about cash flow at every meeting we talk about. Yeah, I get that. Well, what about this? And they start to ask those higher things. And you know what sometimes you have to do? It's awkward. I don't know. You know what? I don't know the answer to that because maybe I've never been asked the question before. You have to get comfortable with saying, I don't know, but guess what? I know how to find the information. I know how to get the information, and I'll get it back to you. And then the crazy part, Randy, is you actually deliver that information. And that's where we have failed in the past, because we are so transactional, whatever you want to call it, that now we're able to, you know what? Yeah. And I come back from the meeting. I've got my notes, which, by the way, are generated by AI. I don't go with a pen and paper anymore. I turn on my Zoom and let my AI companion, who's my best friend, take the notes, summarize it. And when I do that, I send that, I get it within a minute. and I forward it to them. And this is all the things we talked about. And it says Dawn is going to do this. I go back to my office and then I do it, because I don't go back to my office to dictate all the notes and type the things. And here's an email summary. Like, I don't do that anymore. So those automations are allowing me to be productive, get it done, and deliver that experience that I promised them a long time ago. And now we're able to deliver it. And I think that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, Brandy, I'll say, I don't think our clients know yet what else they'd like or what else we can provide. I think sometimes as an industry, we have a tendency to try to tell our clients what they should want versus prompting them to actually think about what do they want from us and like focus on meeting that need. I think this will open the doors for us to be able to actually focus on doing that. So I don't know where it's going. I think, your GL is a system of record. It's one of the most critical stores of data that you have inside your company. My clients, they don't have any, they don't even have, most of them don't have CRMs. They don't have other systems. I think that we can start to prompt them to think about how else they can get more data to run their businesses better too. But I'm not convinced they are willing to pay a lot of money to do that either. So we have to figure out what do they want and what are they willing to pay for it.
Yes, thank you. This has been fantastic. And I know Dawn has to get back on the main stage. So Matt, Dawn, thank you both so much. This far exceeded all of my expectations. So thank you both.
Thank you, Kacee.
Thank you.
I would love to give a shout out to Joe Woodard and the Scaling New Heights team for helping to make this all come together. And of course, Digits, who this podcast would not be possible without. If you would like to learn more about AI native accounting, visit digits.com to explore more and sign up. I'm going to sign off with something that I kind of took away from this. And I'll just say, let's all stay curious and stay ahead. And until next time, thank you.
You've been tuned in to AI Native Accounting, powered by Digits, the world's first autonomous general ledger. Unlock automation for bookkeeping, reporting, client collaboration, and more. Let Digits handle the tedium so you can focus on high-impact client services. See why AI Native Accounting starts with Digits. Try it for free today at digits.com.